It's Fired Up Friday. And you know what that means. We got not one, but two very special guests for you. Pete Sousa, Big 12 football and basketball expert, will be joining us at the top of the show. We also have Justin Spears bringing up the end of the show. Don't go anywhere. It's Fired Up Friday on the AZ Wildcats podcast. We got football. We got basketball this weekend. Leave a like. Don't go anywhere.
Welcome on in, everybody, to the AZ Wildcats podcast, coming to you live from our friends over at Studio K, presented by Circle K. Kevin, I've been saying our friends over at Studio K, presented by Circle K, when it's the opposite, but we'll workshop that. We'll hit the drawing board, we'll watch the tape, and we'll get better next week. But this weekend, tomorrow, to be exact, the Arizona Wildcats play both in football and in basketball, which means that we are in the equinox time of the year as Arizona Wildcats fans. That is sports heaven if our teams are winning. And of course, Arizona will be playing St. Mary's at 2 p.m. in an exhibition game. And then, of course, Arizona playing Houston in what is potentially the most pivotal football matchup of the season, a real measuring stick type of game for your team. But Kevin, as you mentioned, it is a Fired Up Friday. We do have some very special guests today. How are you feeling, and how excited are you for this weekend, my guy?
Another day, another Arizona preseason basketball opponent that is got their season underway. Alabama took on Florida State last night. I'm just pumped, Damon. I love Fridays with our favorite people here in the AZ Wildcats podcast chat. Shout out to everybody who is here right now. Shout out to everybody who is excited to be a part of this double football basketball situation that we have going on coming up this weekend, Damon. I think I know your answer here, but is it more exciting that we're in the equinox time of year if Arizona football, actually, I guess I'm trying to say, are you still excited that it's equinox time of year if Arizona does not get a W on Saturday, right? Like if Arizona football season is a little bit sour, does basketball sweeten it up for you, or do you need both to be firing on all cylinders here? You know what I'm trying to get at?
I do know what you're trying to get at, and what you're trying to get at, I'm pretty sure, is Damon going to be pouting in the basketball postgame show if Arizona loses to Houston, when we're talking about different games. And yes, Kevin, I will, in fact, be a very, very sad boy if Arizona loses to Houston in football, because, frankly, I know that it's like we all expect to win. St. Mary's no team to scoff at, for sure. We all expect to win on Saturday. But if basketball was to lose, yeah, it would be pretty concerning. But it also doesn't count. I mean, I get it. Like, Florida's game one, that does count. And so you want to look good from the jump because your first game of the season is elite right off the bat, right? Yeah. So it's not like you got a whole lot of room to maybe like develop over an extended period of time. Like, you got to be ready from the jump. But that being said, it still is an exhibition game. Whereas this football game kind of means everything. And we'll talk about that later with Justin Spears, but it very much feels like that, this game is kind of like the battle of, which team is going to have kind of that remarkable out of nowhere type of Big 12 season, right? Like, both of these teams feel very evenly matched. I kind of think that this game is anyone's battle, but if Houston wins, they're 7-1, Kevin. And they're looking damn good. Or I'm sorry, 6-1, right? And if Arizona wins, they're 5-2, which by all accounts would be better than what most Arizona fans expected 7 weeks through the season. But if you lose and you drop down to 4-3 with 5 games left, all of them losable, like it is a little bit of a scary proposition in terms of like, is this team going to make a bowl game in 2025?
Yeah, no, I'm with you. I think it does become scary hours if Arizona was unable to get the W on Saturday. It feels, though, and we're going to get to this later with Justin Spears, that like right now the sky is not falling, that this locker room is different than locker rooms of the past. There's a certain level of resilience in this Arizona football locker room that makes it different when projecting things forward. But I think you're right. This is a pivotal game for Arizona football. Like I led this conversation off by asking you if you would pretty much be soured on the Equinox thing if football was not hitting on all cylinders. But I'm right there with you, right? It's hard to be fully ecstatic about, we got football and basketball going right now if football is underperforming. I won't say expectations, because this is, I think, the record, at least record-wise, surpassing many people's expectations for Arizona football this year, especially if you get the W on Saturday. But I think in terms of the way that they've played, the potential for what they have been able to accomplish in comparison to what they've actually accomplished so far is pretty stark. And so for that reason, I do think this game against Houston means a lot. It definitely means a lot. The game against St. Mary's does not mean as much, even though St. Mary's is not a bad program at all. They're actually a quite good basketball program.
Really good program, yeah.
It should be a great Saturday for Arizona fans. And I'm wondering just how electric this season could be if Arizona football does bounce back and get a W over Houston on Saturday, and Tommy Lloyd's group is able to get it done in the preseason. Damon, Saturday could be absolutely electric. I know you and I are going to take some shots to start off our pregame on Saturday. It could be a long day for Damon and I, but yeah, I'm very excited for this. I know everyone here in the chat is excited to have basketball back on our screens in conjunction with football. But Damon, before we get Pete Sousa in here, who I believe is having a little bit of tech trouble getting in, so we're workshopping that on the back end. So we will get Pete Sousa in here. But before we get to that, let's talk a little bit of football, Damon. We said how must-win this game is for Arizona, but just how do they get there, in your opinion, in this one? What are some of the things you really want to see Arizona hit on, and hit on again Saturday in order to beat Houston?
Well, I think we're going to need to see a big jump up in red zone production from this team, because it's been made clear that it very much is an issue in terms of red zone appearances to touchdown conversions. And, you look at Arizona's statistics in regards to all Big 12 teams, second to last in conference, Kevin, in goal-to-go situations or red zone opportunities, converting those to touchdowns. It's not good enough. It's not good enough, and it's frankly what loses you football games. It's what lost Arizona the football game on last Saturday against BYU, is the amount of times that you're moving the ball, you're getting it deep into enemy territory, and then you're not getting the amount of points that you need against a solid football team to get the job done. So I'm looking for red zone opportunities. I'm looking basically, honestly, like, how does the defense travel? I think, I'm pretty confident in this defense. I think most Arizona fans are. But one of those things that we haven't seen in the Brent Brennan era is good road performances. This defense has been good all year long, but they've played a ton of home games, right? And they weren't really at fault for Iowa State. Offense, special teams put them in terrible positions. I think this is truly, we get to see what this defense looks like in a road environment with hostile fans, cheering against them. Like, it will be interesting to see. So those are kind of the two things that I have on my horizon that I'm looking out for. Anything in your perspective? I know you do your keys, so I don't want to make you just give away all the secrets before we are getting going here, Kevin.
I will have some keys in our pregame segment, but for right now, I think it starts. I'll give this one away. You have to keep Noah Fifita upright in this matchup. Carlos Allen Jr. is going to be a presence for Houston on that defensive front. Noah Fifita, I don't have the exact numbers. I will get them for our pregame show, but Noah Fifita has something like a 90-plus Pro Football Focus grade when he is kept upright into a clean pocket. Now, I don't know exactly how they're judging pressures, right? Like, is Noah Fifita getting hit and Noah Fifita getting pressured the same as a collapsed pocket? I don't know how PFF is calculating it, but I will say when he is under pressure, when he does not have a clean pocket, his PFF grade drops 30 percentage points into the 60s. So I think if we're talking about how to make Noah Fifita look like the Noah Fifita that we have come to love at Arizona, it's keeping that man upright so he can make the reads that he needs to, because we know that communication between him and Daggy in terms of what reads Daggy wants him to make versus what reads Fifita's making in the moment, there's been a little bit of disconnect there. I think a clean pocket will help him do that. But we will be getting to more football at the end of our show with our guy Justin Spears, Arizona football expert. But after this break here on the AZ Wildcats podcast, we're going to bring on Big 12 basketball and football expert Pete Sousa to talk a little bit about Arizona hoops here on the AZ Wildcats podcast. So leave a like, drink your water, don't go anywhere. You see it on Damon's head. And we've been talking about it. We've been teasing this specific branded Bills lid for quite some time, and boom. I mean, look at that thing. This thing is absolutely gorgeous. It is super high quality. And on the inside, you can see that it says where premium meets purpose. I love that, Damon. I said that to you this morning. Branded Bills is truly where premium meets purpose, because our purpose is to love our Arizona Wildcats. And the most premium headwear for the Arizona Wildcats is our friends over at Branded Bills. You see the Wilbur on this hat? It is gorgeous. This is the most comfortable hat, Branded Bills, that you can get out on the market right now. Looking for some gear to make your brand, if you have a personal brand, stand apart from the rest, Branded Bills is the best way to elevate your brand, your passion, make premium headwear representative of your brand. Elevate your brand with Branded Bills. They have partnerships with over 40 universities, U of A being one of them. Check them out. They're exclusive shelves at the campus store. They got canvas hats coming as well, does Branded Bills. I believe Damon might have one behind him there on the shelf. They are a local company here from the Freedom State of Arizona. Look at that beautiful thing. Check out brandedbills.com. Use promo code BBPHNX for 15% off your next order.
Kevin, while I am a walking Branded Bills advertisement at all times, shout out my guy Max, you are a walking Rally House advertisement.
True.
And that's because you're always looking on rallyhouse.com for the latest styles to fit your teams, Kevin, whether, you're a St. Louis man. We get it, drink. But when it's Kevin's not as much Arizona, so he's a little bit more towards Cardinals, Blues. And when Kevin goes back home to Missouri, he's got to stop into his local Rally House and check out what the new gear is when he goes back home. Of course, there's 3 Rally House locations here in the great state of Arizona as well. And the great thing about Rally House is that they don't sell opposing teams' gear. Kevin, I'm sure there's a lot of shops, as much as you guys don't like it, I'm sure there's a lot of shops in St. Louis that sell Cubs gear.
Oh, it's the worst.
A ton of them.
Blackhawks, Cubs,
Not at Rally
Bears.
House. Not at Rally House. They say, get all that Chicago crap out of here. This is St. Louis. This is Arizona. Get your LA stuff and keep it. That's what's so great about Rally House, is that they support the local teams in your state. They got 3 locations, as I said, one in the East Valley, Central Valley, West Valley, something for everybody. So check out what your nearest Rally House location is today. Scan that QR code, check out the website, and see all the great things that they have to offer on rallyhouse.com. We're really excited to be partnering with our friends over at Rally House, Kevin, because, we just love gear over here at PHNX Sports. And find your local Rally House location, shop their entire product assortment online at www.rallyhouse.com today.
I teased it before the break. I shall tease it no more. We do have Pete Sousa joining the podcast. Pete, how you doing?
Fellas, what's happening? How we doing? All right? Good to be back with y'all.
It's good to have you back on the pod, Mr. Pete Sousa. I wanted to start here because we started this podcast talking about the sports equinox. You burned the candle at both ends, football and basketball. Just how excited, or maybe not excited, so you're going to be so busy, are you that football and basketball are back on all our TV screens?
Dude, it's crazy you mentioned that because, this week I actually don't have a football game. But then next week, we got Big 12 Media Days. I'm going to Kansas City for that on Tuesday. And then on Thursday, I'll go to Morgantown because I got TCU West Virginia football next weekend. And then after that, we got our ESPN basketball summit. And then when you get home from all that stuff, I mean, if some of these teams were playing a little better, we could get some of these series extended a little further. But it's always cool to check out baseball when you get home too. I'm not a huge baseball fan. I'm a Phillies fan, but they're out of it, so I lose interest a little bit. But yeah, it really is. I'm happy you guys brought that up because it is the best time of year. There's no question. My actual favorite time, it's not quite like the equinox was a week or 2 ago. When you can turn on the TV and you have baseball playoff 1 p.m., 2 p.m. That is amazing, dude. I absolutely love that. And then you go into college football season, college NFL, but yeah, I'm pumped for college hoops, especially the Big 12 is going to be sick again this year. And I heard you guys talking about Arizona Houston. That's a huge game. I figure whichever team wins that game, you can really start to make a case for yourself this season. Be like, okay, we're for real. Let's go. Let's get to Arlington. Because we saw it happen last year with Arizona State. It's kind of why not us? If you're Arizona or Houston. So yeah, it's a great time of year.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And, we are in the thick of football season. We are in football mode, but we did want to talk a little bit of just this preseason poll from yesterday, Pete. And,
Yeah.
Arizona comes in at fourth. You got Houston at the top. Very well deserved national runners up. And of course, kind of ran through the conference last year. BYU bringing back a ton of talent. And of course, bringing in Rob Wright, bringing in a guy like AJ DeBansta, and then Texas Tech, they returned JT Toppin, Christian Anderson, and of course, Arizona receiving that one first place vote in fourth place. Does this feel like kind of that top four hierarchy for you? Because I think Kevin and I look at the preseason poll and think, while Arizona's fourth, they're much closer to that top three, in our opinion, than they are to, the 5 through 16.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think the Big 12 is stacked, and it's funny because even you guys are like, hey, are we not getting the respect we deserve? But then you talk to people like around Baylor, they're like, man, we're seventh. But then but then you have to speak truth to them and be like, well, look at the teams ahead of you. Like, who are you better than? And that's a good place to be if you're the conference right now. Like, you've got your top team, who is I think six in the conference preseason, and out of the top 25, I think is Kansas. Like, that's pretty good. And when you've got a guy like Darren Peterson coming to school, and obviously you're always going to have Bill Self, like, I think Kansas won't be on the outside looking in for too long. And I think, like, the Big 12 is stacked. I mean, I said it once, I'll say it again. Like, and here's one thing about these preseason polls, and this is why, like, I think Brett Yormark and the conference kind of felt like it screwed up Arizona State's chances last year. It almost really hurt them. You guys know that, being out there. But, with basketball, it's even more so. Like, who gives a rat's ass? It's fun. It really is fun, right? I love it. But it's like, there's 64 teams that get in the NCAA tournament. It's not like these preseason polls have anything to really do with, like, the outcome. Like, college football is a little different, right? Like, that top 25 preseason, you're almost married to that, and you got to shake that if you're not, like, a part of that top 25 to start the year. In college basketball, it's just fun, and I love it. It's what I do. Like, we get to talk about it and stuff like that. Like, going to media days on Tuesday will be a lot of fun. Like, they say, like, it's talking season. And so this is all a lot of fun, but, like, to get wrapped up in polls. And the reason I say this is because I'm in Dallas right now, but I spent a lot of time in Central Texas, around Waco and stuff like that. And they're, like, all freaked out that they're, like, seventh. I'm like, first of all, you don't have anybody back, one person back. So just settle down. And this is, like, a perfect year for a team like Baylor and Scott Drew to maybe see if they can work a couple miracles, right, and catch people by surprise. But no, that top four, man, and then you have Texas Tech and Arizona, right, at 3 and 4. Man, Texas Tech is really going to be good this year. I mean, really going to be good. And the same thing about Arizona. When you look at Tommy, Grant McCaslin is an amazing coach. There's so many good coaches in the Big 12, and there's so much talent. So it really is. It's exciting, and the polls are fun. I'm thinking about, what do you? I want to hear what you guys think about Arizona State being dead last. Like, seriously, what's going? And you have Bobby Hurley coming back, who I love, and I love going out there and doing games, and I want them to be doing better than they are. But man, dead last. That's got to get them excited, at least, or motivated.
Me and you are a little bit more aligned on our Bobby Hurley opinions, because I also love the idea of Bobby Hurley. I don't love rooting for him because obviously he's our rival, but I love him being the villain. I love him being the villain. Like, he is the perfect quintessential guy to point at and say, we're rooting against him all the time. And so, I don't want to see him leave the conference. And also, we are pretty successful against Bobby Hurley in general. But honestly, it feels like that marriage is coming to a pretty brutal end here. He had a lot of trouble recruiting this offseason, brought in a ton of foreign players that really didn't have, like, a ton of pedigree. Like, it's not like the Tommy Lloyd, international prospects like C.D. Gay, who's playing at Real Madrid, or Ivan Karchenkov, who's playing at Bayern Munich. Like, these are guys that are fairly unknown. And then it's Mo Odom, who's really, really good. But,
Yeah.
to be a good point guard and to be a successful, assister, you need people to make shots to help out in that regard. So I think it's well-deserved ASU being in last place, and I think that they're going to be looking at a new coach in the next season.
And if it was going to, I mean, we just look at putting the cards on the table. Like, you thought if they were going to have a year, it was going to be last year. Like, man, it was like super exciting and opportunity was knocking, and it just didn't happen. And, maybe, again, once they roll the balls out and we start playing, like, I'm surprised to see them get ranked behind UCF and Colorado. And even Utah. Like, Utah's got some really cool stuff going with Alex Jensen. Like, they're kind of going that route. Sort of, just like, you look across the state, like BYU is doing with Kevin Young, like, and we're seeing that more and more, right? Like, with that NBA type mindset where it's like, okay,
A second to get back in here. Looks like we just went dark. Oh, looks like he's back already, Kevin.
So I had to do this on my phone because my computer was messing up, and then that was my boy Murph. I'll obviously call him back. I'm talking to you guys, but no, I think like that NBA blueprint. Hey, come play for us. We'll get you ready for the NBA. We'll also give you a bag of money. Now BYU has done a great job of that, and you guys were talking about Rob Wright. I mean, that is a huge addition for BYU, a huge addition. But back to my point about the lower part of the conference, at least preseason, I think Utah could sneak around and make some noise. Maybe if not this year, in a few years. Like, I think that recipe, like I'm talking about, hey, come play for me. If it's a year or two, we'll get you your bag, and then we'll get you NBA ready. That is a real selling point for some of these coaches now.
And I think when you ask us, about why Bobby Hurley is ranked last and with ASU, to us it makes a lot of sense because I think, like we were talking about it yesterday, obviously we're a little biased. We want to actually extend Bobby Hurley for as long as possible. As people in our chat are saying, ASU dead last, that's still too high. But I think, like, when you look at the conference, right, and this is what I was going to ask you next, right, there are so many teams that you could be high on in this conference that if you are simply not strong, you're automatically one of the worst teams in the conference. I think Cincinnati, for example, could have a regression this year. I'm not talking about regression to last, but they could have a regression, and there could be teams like TCU, Oklahoma State, who just upset Auburn in a preseason game. They could rise a little bit. And I think when you're talking about Arizona State, UCF, Colorado, Utah, there's just too many strengths in this conference for like a first-year coach in Alex Jensen who has some okay players coming in, but you really need time to flesh out a roster the way he wants to do it. UCF, I actually sneaky kind of like what Dawkins has been able to put together down there. We talked about this yesterday, the experience, that part of it. Like, he has maybe the most experienced roster in the whole conference just because he went out and got every guy that's already played 3-4 years because he's coaching for his job too. There's a lot going on at the bottom of this conference. So I do think that ASU right now is in the least advantageous position right now in the Big 12. I don't think that it means they're like the worst team in the country, even though they might be. But yeah, I think it's rightful that they're in that 14 to 16 range. I could hear an argument for Colorado being last or UCF being last, but I was not surprised that ASU was placed last. And I will ask you the question that I led that off with. What are some of the teams that you're highest on outside of that top three, and who could really surprise some people this year, you think, in the Big 12?
Well, I mean, I know it's not the first game that I'm calling this year. It's in South Dakota, by the way, which I'll call any game anywhere. Right? I'm so trust me, I am like over the moon to be calling basketball. But yeah, it's in South Dakota. It's Mississippi State and Iowa State, and it's early November. It's like November 10th. But Iowa State, that's a long way of saying I still love Iowa State, and they actually are outside of that. They're fifth in the conference, ranked preseason, I think 20. But I really like Iowa State this year, and I feel like Coach Otzelberger is always right there, and the way that they play, the way that they wear teams down, and still the talent that they have, it's hard to overlook a guy like Taman Lipsey who comes back like. I think you guys are in great shape with Bradley, right? Like I love a dude coming back that's like the maestro that's played for a while, will dig in, play amazing defense, and also run the offense, right? We're not worried about getting him a bunch of shots. This is a guy that's going to be the heartbeat of our team, and he'll lead on both ends of the floor. So like Taman Lipsey coming back, I mean, dude, it feels like he's been here forever. I think he's in his third year, right? I mean, like, so a dude like that, you get him to stay in your program. That's huge for Iowa State. But again, that top five is really strong, and then you got Kansas at 6. Kansas, I mean, how are you going to say they're going to surprise you, right? But like they're outside of that top five. I mean, if I'm answering that question honestly, like I like Kansas a lot this year. I think that Bill Self, the construction of the roster for a lot of these coaches is changing in a sense that they're not necessarily going after, okay, this 5-star, this guy jumps off the page at me. He's the best recruit I can get basketball wise. Like there's more like due diligence that's being done around the country way before these guys even get in the portal. Like the Texas Tech football model, right? That they have used. And aside from all the money that they're giving players, they're giving staff. They have their staff is so wide reaching. They have so many members of the football staff traversing the country, figuring out who can we bring in here. 2 years before they come in, like character stuff. You know what I mean? Like who's going to fit inside our program. Last year, I think Kansas. I really think Bill Self like was crouched down in that huddle several times last year, looking up at his dudes, being like, I don't even know these guys. You know what I mean? Like I really believe that. And I think like some of those guys were like, I don't know this dude. Like it's just like I think there's more work towards synergy now than ever because it comes at such a price. So I think there's a lot of work there. So I think Kansas is a team that I think you'll see do pretty well, and I also think Kansas State, just the way that they play, that's a tough place to play, and it's like I don't think anybody's paying much attention to them. PJ Haggerty's a great acquisition, so I like Kansas State too a little bit to make some noise.
That's funny you mentioned that, Pete, because me and Kevin yesterday were like the team that we kind of clocked as like, I think that's pretty low is Kansas because,
Yeah.
I we call it the Hunter Dickinson effect. You lose Hunter Dickinson and you drastically improve your team's chances of winning basketball games. So I think Bill Self is going to make a comeback this year, but.
Yeah, no, I said it's like the Ewing theory. Bill Simmons has that, and I remember that series, dude. In '99, when Pat Ewing was out for the Knicks, and they made that run, they were an 8 seed, and they went all the way to the finals. Yeah, the Hunter Dickinson Ewing theory is pretty good. I think there is a addition by subtraction for him. I think that, and that was like the way that they ran their offense last year. It just seemed clumsy at times because it felt like it had to go through him way too often. I think when you have a team like Kansas, let's just get out and run and beat people's butt with what we can do and our athleticism, right, and our skill level. It's always going to be top flight.
And also, addition by subtraction, but also addition by straight up addition. You're adding Darren Peterson to that squad as well. You're giving Bill Self like potentially the number 1 overall draft pick in this draft. When have we seen Bill Self fumble that kind of an opportunity? I feel like not very often. So, yeah, we're super high on Kansas on this podcast. One thing that I wanted to ask you about, though, you mentioned the idea that, continuity and synergy are huge right now in college basketball. Arizona has the number 2 recruiting class in the country. A lot of their production that they're trying to replace this year is going to be filled by freshmen. How do you think that impacts their season this year? There's a lot of discussion about whether or not you can trust guys like Koa Pete, Braden Burries, and Dwayne Aristo preseason. Are you in that camp, or do you believe that Tommy Lloyd and Jaden Bradley can kind of figure this out?
I think they're figuring it out now. And again, I can't stress enough, like, again, a lot of teams are turning over almost the whole roster. So I think people are talking about the additions to Arizona because they're so elite. Because this is like the 4th or 3rd best recruiting class in the country, depending on who you ask.
Second.
Yeah, second. Okay. And I love like Dwayne Aristo is a great example as to why I feel like Arizona is going to be very good because he plays amazing defense. Like that's huge, dude. Like if you've got a guy like Jaden Bradley who you can't get past, and if you do get past him, you got a dude 6'8", 220 that is going to put your shot in the bleachers, or he can guard just about any wing, right? Any position. That's major. That is major. And we haven't even talked about Cole Pete and his physicality. His ability to kind of create his own shot, get to the basket. any way he wants to, can kind of get that ugly basket right when you need someone to. I don't worry about overall the experience or the chemistry or the cohesion for Arizona when you look at it in perspective and you throw it in the pot with the rest of the country. Like, this is a good example. I'll just say it. So I've been sober for 14 years, right? Great stuff. But you go to meetings and I go to AA, right? And some people will say like, "Yo, dude, you throw all your problems in the middle of in the room with everybody else, you're gonna take yours back, dude." And like Arizona's the same way. Like, we got all our problems. Okay, we got like all these freshmen and we're inexperienced. Like, throw that stuff in the middle of the gym at center court with everybody else. You'll be like, happily, we will take our inexperience back. Like, I'm telling you, the guys at Baylor, I love them, but they're like, nice to meet you. They took an off-season trip. I think they went to Italy or something. And a lot of teams are doing that, right? To try to get.
We'll have Pete back here in a
Yeah,
second.
he's probably getting
another
a
phone
call from Murph. Yeah, he's probably getting another call from Murph, and he is back.
No, hold on, back. That was my fiance, and I just put her to voicemail. So you guys are,
That's respect. That's love.
Pete Sousa going in the doghouse for us.
Respect. She's coming back here. She'll probably be in this room in a second. But no, so I believe Arizona, like, if that's a great problem to have, right? That kind of inexperience. Like, you've got the best inexperience in the country, and you've got a guy like Jaden Bradley coming back who can kind of hold it down for you guys. And even some of the like new additions, again, like I just think Aristod plays like a veteran. He's going to be another guy. I say a lot of guys like are coming in new at Baylor. Like Tunde Yesufu is another dude you really got to keep an eye on. He's a beast, and he plays like a grown man. It's tough to evaluate all these guys before they all start, banging away at each other, on the court this season. But you can look at like the Hoop Summit, the McDonald's game, and some of the other stuff. I talk a lot with Paul Biancardi, my man at ESPN. He's the recruiting director of all of college basketball and basketball in general. He loves Tunde Yesufu. He's a dog, man. And Tunde kind of got into AJ DeBonsa in some of these All-Star games. So that's a dude to really, really look after. I'll tell you one thing, and this is why I just mentioned DeBonsa and Rob Wright. There's a lot of hype around BYU. There is a lot of hype around BYU. Like that, I think that's a good place to have pressure on you because their fans will give you a little more grace, but at the same time, they're going to have to play pretty well, or the nation will kind of be looking at them like it's a lot of pressure on a guy like AJ DeBonsa this year, and I hope he does well. But I feel like we've all kind of anointed BYU, and they're coming off. Remember now, history-wise, they're coming off their first Sweet 16 ever, so it's one of those things like can they keep it going? A guy like Richie Saunders coming back, he'll help them, but it's going to be interesting to see how BYU does. Can they live up to all that hype?
You mentioned Richie Saunders, and I will get you out of here on this. You've been very generous with your time today. We have one more preseason thing.
Yeah.
We got Big 12 all-conference team. Now, usually, I'm sure that it's 5 players on an all defense or all-conference team. They got 10 on this list. No Arizona Wildcats. Pete Sousa, my question to you is, did Arizona get snubbed from this list? Is there anyone on Arizona's team that you think should be preseason top 10 in the conference?
Well, you can't. Here's my one thing, okay? Like, I would say you guys had a great case. Or no, I would say you didn't have a case. But then you see AJ DeBonsa on that list. So it's like, well, why can't Koa Pete be on that list? Like, it's not like we've seen AJ DeBonsa play basketball yet in the Big 12. So, I think Koa Pete should be on there. If AJ DeBonsa's on there, I think Koa Pete should be on there for sure. I think he should be above, let's say, somebody like PJ Haggerty. That's just my opinion. But yeah, I'm surprised that you don't see one Arizona Wildcat on there. But again, how about this for a silver lining? Like, maybe that's a good thing in a sense that, like, you have elite players at Arizona, but you don't have a team where, okay, you're just talking about one guy the whole time, all year long. Like, there's some love spread out. I know Koa Pete gets a lot of the headlines, but I think, and I've seen this again, I can use Baylor as a reference, like up close and personal. Baylor had this recipe which they used to win the national championship. And it was all about a team. And it was like literally, you got to have dudes that are going to chop wood and carry water. And in the NIL world, it's hard because who wants to chop wood and carry water when I can go somewhere else and score 25 a night? Or at least I think I can, right? But I think some of these coaches, and that's why they're amazing coaches, they have to hold true to their core values and be like, no, no, no. You're going to be what we need you to be. And I think Tommy Lloyd in Arizona, they have guys like that. You know, they have dudes like that. Like, again, Aristote's a great example. Somebody that'll come in and do some of the dirty work, but also make some of those high-flying plays that will keep you an explosive team, but also a team that has a lot of grit, you know? So if I'm Arizona, I'm like, again, guys, really, it's fun. It's great to talk about. Who cares? You know what I mean? Like, let's just win. Let's just win, right?
I'll say this: gas bags like me and Damon love the preseason stuff because what we can do is stuff like this. Now, let me break it down to you. This is an idea.
Come on, I love it too, but I get to like when I'm on your show, it's kind of funny. Like I was saying this to my boy the other day, like, you know, because I have my show, the Pete Sousa Show. Check it out if you like the Big 12. We do it every day. Eventually, we end up talking about the Big 12, but it's so funny. Like you have a guest on, right? And it's like a really good, educated discussion, and then the guest leaves, and you're putting together like your thumbnail for the day, or somebody's asking like, what do I say? And you're like, and I'm always like coming up with something like real spicy, nothing crazy or like dishonest, but clickable, right? And you're thinking like, if this dude sees that I put that on here, will he be like, yo, dude, come on, man? You know, like I had Jeff Pearlman on my show, right? And he just wrote a book about Tupac. So Jeff and I talked about Tupac. The book's coming out Monday. It's called Only God Can Judge Me. It looks like it's going to be amazing. So I have Jeff on. We have a great conversation. I put up one clip about, hey, like, you know, what the real story about when Tupac was murdered, you know, and that was kind of Jeff. He talked to 650 people for the book. That's fine. Ariel Helwani, who's like super, like, you know, he's pretty high profile, UFC dude. He had Jeff on his show, and his thumbnail was like, "Is Tupac still alive?" I was like, "All right, like I don't feel bad at all about what I did, you know." So we got to drum it up a little bit and have fun. So I get it. There's no shade, I promise. But I do think at the end of the day, we all get because I get the opportunity to meet with these coaches, right? You know, when it's football, you talk to the DC, the OC, and the head coach, and when it's basketball, you talk to the head coach. And a lot of them, they could care less about this stuff, right? It's like, let's just win. But the talking is a lot of fun. I'm with you guys.
Well, speaking of loving it, Pete, my guy Kevin is about to throw down something for you. We have put some pins on our board, our bulletin board, connected some dots with all this preseason stuff, and we have pre-formulated a season-long take that will benefit Arizona in the long run. So, Kevin, I'm going to throw the rock to you. Take it away, my guy.
Hear ye, hear ye. The 2025 Big 12 Coach of the Year, Tommy Lloyd. Not in the top 3 of the preseason poll. Got one first place vote, probably from Kelvin Sampson. And no first-team preseason players. Not the preseason freshman of the year. Not the returner of the year. No newcomers of the year. None of that. So if Tommy Lloyd goes and wins the conference, Coach of the Year.
We want it.
Hey, that's you know what? Now that is a great point. You guys just took all this hype and you actually made it real, because now you're Tommy Lloyd and you're going for your next contract renegotiation. It's like, yo, I was Coach of the Year. So if it leads back to dollars, it makes some sense. So that's pretty good. I like that. You just legitimized all this horse, you know what? Good job.
Well, Pete, I know that you've been so generous with your time. We've focused on basketball, but real quick before we got out of here, I did just want to kind of get your quick thoughts on the Houston-Arizona game. You know, you mentioned how pivotal of a matchup it is, and you know, obviously for both teams, it feels like a real springboard type of moment for the rest of the season because these teams are so evenly matched up. So what do you think is going to play out, and just kind of what is your evaluation of the Cats throughout the season thus far?
Well, I haven't called an Arizona game. I've called a Houston game this year, and Houston's pretty damn good. I mean, I figured they were going to be better than people thought, and they have been so far. I think for both of these teams right here, like I love Willie Fritz. I just do. Like, and the thing about Willie Fritz, and here's why I think Arizona will win. I mean, I'm sorry, Houston will win, because Willie Fritz in his second year, wherever he's gone, has like pulled off like miracles. Like turnarounds, right? And like it's right there in black and white. And I believe he is doing that this year with this Houston team. And I think Connor Wegman, it really is a great quarterback. I like a lot. Like Arizona's, of course, better than we thought they were going to be. Noah Fafita's having the year this year that we thought he was going to have last year, and I think that's why he's kind of gone under the radar, right? Because everybody was so excited for him. And I want to say his whole name, Teteroa McMillan, right? I don't want to say Tet because that's you don't want to say people say Tet like they're his boy, dude. That ain't happening.
Yeah, he can't do that. He doesn't even like it.
No.
That's not even what he prefers.
No, he doesn't like it. He doesn't like it. I said it once last year. Somebody lit me up. I was, I had it coming. But no, I think Arizona's kind of having the year this year that they were supposed to have last year. So they're sneaky fun and a solid team. But I do like Houston in this game. I think there's something special going on with Willie Fritz, and I just think he's like an exceptional coach. My opinion.
I think a lot of people nationally are going to be on the same regard as you, and especially because Houston's at home. It's an early kickoff. Like, there's a lot of factors that are kind of working against Arizona in this one, but it really should be a pretty, fun, important matchup here in the Big 12 Conference. Of course, Pete, you'll be talking about it on Inside the Big 12, which, of course, you host. You'll be talking about it on the Pete Sousa show when you guys get around to talking Big 12 after talking some Tupac. And, we appreciate you for always giving your time and being so generous on this fine program, Pete.
Oh, dude, you guys are awesome, and we'll do it again during the season, man. I can't wait.
Can't wait for that as well. He is Pete Sousa of ESPN, of the Pete Sousa Show, of Inside the Big 12. Thank you so much, and we will talk to you later, my guy. But, Kevin, lots of great stuff from Pete Sousa again, as always. Excited to talk about kind of the breakdown of that interview right after the break here on the AZ Wildcats pod.
That was an absolutely electric interview. But if you want an absolutely electric time, head over to our friends at Gila River Resorts and Casinos, because you do you when you stay at Gila River Resorts and Casinos. Because, you can stay there. You can staycation there. I've done it. It's better than vacationing, I would say. I prefer a staycation over a vacation. Gila River Resorts and Casinos, whether you want that high-end steakhouse vibe or just a night out with some friends at a local bar, Gila River Resorts and Casinos has all the vibes for you. Live events, comedy shows, concerts, our PHNX fantasy drafts. You can watch Max draft a losing team live at Gila River. That is my favorite thing about it myself. But make sure to check out Gila River Resorts and Casinos. Over 4,500 slots and live table games. You do you at Gila River Resorts and Casinos. Visit playatgila.com for more details. And like I said, I meant to say, they have multiple locations: Wild Horse Pass, Lone Butte, V-Kiva, and Santan Mountain. So check out playatgila.com for more details.
We love our friends at Gila River Resorts and Casinos. Just so much fun to go out there, staycation, have a good time, and just kind of live it up, Kevin, when you go out to a Gila River Resort and Casino location. But it wouldn't be a trip to the casino if I didn't have my damn sunnies on me, my guy. And of course, you guys know I'm only rocking one brand of sunglasses, and that is our friends at Shady Rays. We got a promo code for you. It's PHNX. It's going to get you 35% off a pair of premium polarized sunglasses. And guys, let me tell you, when I say premium polarized sunglasses, I mean it. They have an unbelievable look. They have an unbelievable style, and you look so cool when you do so. But the best part about Shady Rays in general is their lost and broken replacement policy. Kevin, you know that moment, the one where you realize you left your favorite pair of sunglasses on the beach or on the roof of your car or at the gas station 3 states away.
The worst.
We've all done that. For me personally, my example of that is at the Honolulu airport when I landed 5 minutes ago. Not joking. Just left my sunglasses on the seat.
Oh no.
And you got a Hawaii vacation all in front of you.
Yeah.
And no sunglasses to spare. But if I did it with my friends at Shady Rays, which I have since made that switch, Kevin, I could just hit up the Shady Rays support team and say, guys, I lost my sunglasses. Can you send me a brand new pair? And they would do so. It is that simple of a process. Our guy Kobe in the chat, I kind of threw him the assist. I said, Kobe, just tell him your order number. They're going to send you a brand new pair. And they did so. It was very simple. He got it all done in the span of like an hour. It really was as easy as can be. And we've teamed up with Shady Rays to bring you this exclusive offer, PHNX, 35% off premium polarized shades at shadyrays.com. Try for yourself the shades rated 5 stars by over 300,000 people. That was kind of like a Sally sells seashells down by the seashore type of vibe at the end there.
Yeah, no, I had a little tongue twister, a little verbal warm up. Kobe says that is a true story. It is a true story. Honestly, it was way less than an hour. I think we probably hit our read probably halfway through the show. Kobe was like, "Oh yeah, I could take advantage of this offer that they're giving me," and took advantage of it probably within 15, 20 minutes, to be quite honest with you. But yeah, shout out to Shady Ray, shout out to Gila River Resorts and Casinos, shout out to Pete Sousa for stopping by the pod today. That was very cool to get to talk to Pete. Always a very fired up guy, perfect for Fired Up Friday, I would say.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And let me start off with this, Kevin. I don't know which direction you were going to go in, but feels like he kind of thinks BYU's overrated.
Yeah, it does. It does. It feels like
he didn't want to come out and say it explicitly, and I get that. He's like a big J. Like he's got he's a play-by-play guy. He's got you got to keep the good graces of these fan bases,
and these coaches.
Yes, it seems as though Pete Sousa not as high on BYU as maybe the general consensus would be.
And it feels like, and you and I were talking about this pre-show as it relates in like a more micro sense to AJ Devanza versus Darren Peterson.
Yeah.
It feels like as the season gets closer, the hype on BYU is kind of doing this. It's kind of slowly decreasing to wherever it's going to actually level out at for the rest of the year. It feels like people are starting to get higher on Kansas, higher on Tech, higher on Houston, and BYU's kind of just standing where they were the whole time in terms of hype. But I kind of read into the same thing. I don't know if he thinks that they're overrated or what, but he's definitely probably a little bit lower than them on than consensus would be on BYU. I did think that was interesting. I also thought it was a very good conversation we had about synergy versus freshman impact and how, like, honestly, the skill of freshmen can kind of outweigh the value of synergy sometimes. If you're bringing back guys just for the sake of bringing guys back, it's not better than going out and getting three of the best freshmen in the country, which is what Arizona is expected to have this upcoming year. I'm a big Dwayne Aristode guy. I loved hearing his love for Dwayne Aristode. Yeah. You know that. I was pumped up hearing that.
Dude, I'm sure it was tough for you to stay seated. You almost wanted to get up and fist pump like your team just scored a touchdown or something. Team Kevin, that is. But
Team Aristode?
Yeah, for sure. I got to say, I think that this Arizona team, like the thing that fired me up from that whole interview was the wood choppers part of it. I'm being dead serious.
I like that too.
Arizona does have those guys. And as much as Jaden Bradley is a star, bona fide, and we know that, Arizona fans know that, but nationally, the idea is going to be that Jaden Bradley is one of those wood chopper type of guys because he's not that flashy. He's not that jump off the screen at you. He's not going to drop 25 in a game. He's going to drop 15 every damn night with the best point guard defense in college basketball, right? Same thing with the guy like Tobe Awaka. He's just going to be a top 3 rebounder in the sport every night in and every night out. Are you going to expect a ton else from him? No. Are there going to be times like BYU on the road last year where he steps up and you're like, oh my God, I didn't know Tobe Awaka had that in his bag.
Yeah, he's Oregon in the tournament.
It's, there are moments that Tobe Awaka will have where he looks like more, but at his core and at his, even if you want to say like at his worst, he's an elite rebounder who's going to be playing a very key role on this team to help this team win basketball games. And I think that those guys are such important supplemental pieces when you bring in the new freshmen that are so blue chip talented, right? You have those blue chip guys who you need to build chemistry with, obviously, and you have so many new faces, but it's not as if you're starting from scratch. You're bringing back team leaders from last year who were great in their roles, and you expect them to play in those same roles. We don't need Jaden Bradley and Tobe Awaka to be guys that they're not. We're not looking at those guys and being like, they need to step up and become stars this year, right? Like, even though I think that Jaden Bradley is a star, but like we don't need them to be stars. We have other guys that can play those roles. I think that it's just a perfect fit, and I think that those are the type of players that lead to winning big in college basketball, and Arizona has a couple of them.
What I'm about to say is not unique to Arizona, but it is unique to physical basketball teams, right? I think when you have programs that pride themselves on being physical, like Arizona did last year, and I think we'll continue to do going forward, if you listen to players, if you listen to coaches about how they're teaching this team to play, it's very physical on the forefront of their minds, physicality. I think when you have a physical team full of returners that are defensively minded, right? Tobe Awaka, a prolific rebounder, that's a defensive skill, right? Jaden Bradley is a great defensive guard at the college level. When you have these returners that are physical guys, I think it helps ramp up your freshmen to that level of play, right? You don't have as long of an adjustment period. We listened to Kelvin Sampson yesterday talk about it with his squad, right? Chris Sinak Jr. has never gone up against guys like JoJo, as he says, Mr. Tugler, right? Like they haven't gone up against this level of physicality before. So ramping them up when you already have it in-house is a lot easier. And I think that is going to benefit Arizona, honestly. Like having guys like Tobe Awaka to straight up bully guys at practice if he needs to physically, I think is super important, right? Like I think night one against Florida, who has, I think, large bigs, right? But not necessarily the most physical bigs, right? In the whole country. I think that is going to help guys like Koa Pete adjust in that game even earlier because they're like, oh, you're no more physical than my guy Tobe. Tobe's been moving me around more than you have. I can work with this on the block. So I think that this kind of a mix that you're alluding to, Damon, is extra beneficial to Arizona. Because not only do you have veteran leaders returning, you have veteran physical players returning. Veteran guys who have been playing at a physical level at this Big 12, I guess not for the whole time, but last year, first year in the Big 12. They've been in the Big 12. They played that physical caliber of basketball, and now they can teach it to Cole Pete, Braden Burries, Dwayne Aristode, who all three already have the makings of being some of the more physical players in their positions in the conference. Dwayne Aristode, 6'8", 200-plus pounds, can defensively stop anybody. Cole Pete, built like a Titan from Attack on Titan. He's a giant human being. You know what I mean? He is not only giant, but he's athletic as well. He can utilize his physicality to get to the rim at will. Jaden Bradley is one of the best defensive guards in the conference. I don't know how many times I have to say that. So I think the physicality that is returning in combination with the leadership is huge for Arizona, and I think it is going to pay dividends this season. I sent out my record prediction yesterday. Sure, it was on the optimistic side, heavily on the optimistic side, but I think that's mostly because you are pairing like such veteran leadership and such veteran high-level production with bluest of the blue chip guys.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree completely with that, and I think that this basketball season, I mean, just looking at this conference, it's gonna be so damn fun, man. That's the one thing that sticks out. As much as like we can sit up here and be like, Jaden Bradley got screwed on the first team list, or if you're gonna have the DeBanstas and the Petersons on there, why is Koa Pete not on there? But at the same time, the fact that those guys can be left off a preseason list is pretty nuts, man. And it goes to show the overall talent level of this conference. But Kevin, I didn't have this prepared. I did just want to ask you this kind of off the cuff. Andy Katz put together another one of his lists. Of course, the show title of the show today is Dark Horses on the thumbnail, right? And Arizona was considered a dark horse by Andy Katz because what top 15 preseason team wouldn't be considered a dark horse? And I know our version of dark horse is for the conference versus just in general making the Final Four as a top 15 team potentially. But on this new list, he did best defenders, Kevin. Jaden Bradley comes in at number 9 on the list, but Tamin Lipsey, number 4. Any thoughts on that?
I'm trying to pull it up right now. I'm seeing it. Jaden Bradley coming in at 9. Kylan Boswell, old friend, coming in at 10. Who else is on here? Sincere Harris from Cincinnati.
Boswell works hard, man. But do you really think that he's that level? Is that like, am I off in kind of my evaluation of that? Like, I feel like he moves and he's definitely pretty quick laterally, and he's got a good base for a short guy. Like he can kind of guard up a little bit because you can't really just like bully him necessarily.
He's
like,
incredibly stocky.
He's got a big stocky body for a point guard, but I also don't feel like he's really truly stopping any like elite scorer if he's being matched up against them. Whereas like Jaden Bradley, he might get beat by a Uzan late in the game, but like throughout the course of the game, he's just like ripping the ball away from people and leading to a ton of transition opportunities.
I am kind of surprised to see like a Tamin Lipsey. Like I'm surprised the gap between Lipsey and Bradley is so stark.
Mm.
But I'm not really surprised to see Kylan Boswell on there. Like I think like at his best, he is a very high impact player. I think it just didn't necessarily work out at Arizona for a variety of reasons. But like none of those reasons were like a lack of talent, right? Like it was more a lack of focus on the talent than anything else, right? But like I think honestly, whether he's in the Big Ten or not, I think Kylan Boswell has that potential to be a top 10 defensive player in the country, especially with his build. He's an extremely physical guy. He's only gotten more physical since he's gotten to Illinois with his build and his size. A little surprised to see him on there, but like I think at his best, he deserves it. So not too shocked, but it did take me aback a little bit.
Personally, I think Jaden Bradley's kind of just better than Lipsey at everything. And I don't really understand the idea that Lipsy is like slightly above Jaden in all these things, even though his statistics are worse across the board in every category. And the eye test also says that Jaden Bradley is better, in my opinion. But that's fine, man. I feel like this is just classic Arizona preseason stuff where it's like, well, we can't put Jaden Bradley above Tamin Lipsy. And you're like, why? Is Tamin Lipsy really the second best defender in college basketball? That seems egregious to me.
I'll also say this. I think it's hard to do a list like this at times as well, because how do you really equate, and we talked about this yesterday when it comes to Tugler versus Bradley on that first team list, how do you really equate like a big's defense to a guard's defense? They do different things. It's counted differently.
Bigs are more impactful.
Right, and I think it's a little bit louder with bigs, to your point. I also think that people love Tamin Lipsy. I also like Tamin Lipsy, but people love Tamin Lipsy. He's going to miss.
Keep him.
He's going to miss the first like 4 or 6 weeks of the season. And it's like, I don't know. I just don't see it. But you know what? I could see Damon, and we're going to get to football with Spears here in a second. But I could see, if we did like a postseason list, I could see Dwayne Aristotle cracking it.
Yeah, for sure.
Genuinely.
If he has the season that he absolutely could have, I think that is very, very entirely possible. But I do think that maybe the only thing that could maybe preclude him from that is the amount of minutes that he's getting. Like if he's playing like a Carter Bryant style of kind of bench minutes, I think that might be difficult to really truly get on that list. But he definitely has an opportunity to, and I think that just the caliber of player that he is, he definitely can. I wouldn't be shocked if he was on a list like this going into his sophomore year, if he decides to come back for a second season at Arizona. But I do just want to say Joseph Tugler coming in at number 3 on this list, as much as, we don't like the guy and think that maybe he's a little bit of a dirty player. He is a great defender. Yeah. And he does very much belong in terms of that ranking, in my opinion. But how about Laxel Lendenberg, the greatest player that's ever stepped foot on a basketball court? Kevin, I've never seen a basketball player like this guy. It is modern day Kareem Abdul-Jabbar in the form of a UAB Blazer. Am I wrong?
No.
He's on every list. Every list that has been made this offseason, somehow Yaxel Lendenberg is on it. It'll be like best passers in college basketball, and they'll be like, well, we got to find a way to put Yaxel on it. And you're like, what? As a player, again, man, he's great. He's a really good college player. He tested the draft waters, and the NBA was like, we good. And he's going to come back to college basketball and be the best player no matter who he's going against. I just don't understand it. I feel like I'm taking crazy pills, Kevin. And I know that someone could clip this, like a Michigan fan could clip this, probably wait until Lendenberg has an insane game and then be like, nice one, loser. You look stupid. But that's not my point. My point is that we're projecting that a guy who averaged 20 at UAB is just going to not only continue that, but even potentially improve in a much more difficult conference. And I just don't understand the love for the Big Ten. I don't understand the love for Michigan. I don't understand the Dusty May love. It's just kind of gotten out of control, in my opinion, Kevin.
I will say, if we're doing like a straight up defensive list, I see him.
Yeah, it's not really a referendum on his defense.
Yeah.
It's a referendum on he's on every single freaking list of the entire preseason. And it's like, dude, he's the best player in college basketball. And you're like, UAB made the NIT last year with him on the team. If he's the best player in college basketball, don't you think they would have won their damn crappy conference? Probably. I think they would have.
Probably. I think when you look at his game, I think a lot of the stuff that he does do will translate to Michigan. I don't know if some of the higher scoring games that he was able to accomplish, like the 30-point game that he had against ECU, or the 24-point game he had against Memphis, for example. But I think those
that's 32 against Illinois and 28 against Michigan State, by the way.
And I think the rebounding, Damon, the rebounding is insane. The man puts up 15 plus more rebounds or 10 plus more rebounds, more than most people I see. And I do think that he deserves a shot on that list. But I will say, I want to actually address what you said, which is that I have seen him on every single list. And I think it kind of ties into where I thought you were going with that Andy Katz topic of there are just certain preseason hype trains that are just like, all right, that's what we've chosen that we're doing this year.
Dusty May's really good at talking to the national media, apparently.
It's UCLA, it's Yaxel Landeborg, it's like, what else is it going to be this year? It's probably going to be like Arkansas. Watch out for Calipari at Arkansas. Patino's doing it all this year. Like, it's going to be those kind of storylines. And I think we've noticed that Yaxel Landeborg and UCLA and Michigan are some of those storylines we're going to be combating a lot this year, probably.
I mean, don't you think the rebounding in particular takes a big hit for Yaxel in the Big Ten? I mean, in that Big Oaf conference where every team has like a 7'2" guy who can't move, and he's no longer playing in the American or the Sun Belt or whatever the hell UAB is in. Like, I feel like that is in particular something that he could see a big step back in, and maybe not a big step back, but like just like a step back in terms of like, is he really going to be that dominant on the boards in a conference where the athleticism matches way more like who he is versus who like the players that he's playing against?
My answer to that would be this. Like, I think of Nate Biddle when I think of a Big Ten big. I think of like just a huge oaf kind of guy, good at rim protecting.
Actually a good player.
Good at being, I'm not saying he's bad, but I'm saying that's who I think of when I think of like a Big Ten big.
Yeah.
I think of that.
I think of like Luka Garza.
Yeah, that too. But I think like with both of those players, like Yaxel's advantage over them would be athleticism. And when I think of like a guy who's in that 6'8" to 6'9", 10 range, like a Yaxel is, Tobe Awaka put up 14 against Oregon last year in March Madness. So I actually think that while they do have bigger players, I think the athleticism of Landeborg could really help him in the rebounding categories. It'll probably take a slight dip, but I do anticipate most of it carrying over in the Big Ten Conference, honestly. I think like some of the high-end scoring stuff will dissipate, but I do think that the rebounding will maintain and transfer with him.
Yeah. I think that he'll be great. I mean, he's going to make like the Big Ten first team and everything. I'm not trying to like say that he's going to be some bum player. It's just it feels like a little over the top to me. This guy from UAB is the best player in college basketball.
Yeah.
Full stop. And you're like,
no
way, man.
I don't get it either.
No way. But I'll tell you what, we will be there watching Big Ten basketball all season long. I will be fading the Big Ten in non-con. I will be fading the Big Ten in the March Madness tournament. And I will be riding it all the way to the bank. And you guys are welcome to join me. Speaking of, Kevin, we did not do our bets today. And I just realized that this is Friday. We do our bets on Friday. I guess our game is early enough tomorrow where we could do our bets on the pregame show. So I guess we can go ahead and do that. So
tap in for pregame.
We'll be giving out our 3 best bets on pregame tomorrow, which of course is always 30 minutes prior to kickoff. And in this case, that means 8:30 a.m. So Kevin and I will be live at 8:30 a.m. doing a tequila shot right off the jump. So if you guys are interested in seeing 2 men just scream in agony as their bodies reject 8:30 tequila shots, we're the show for you. Tune in for that one. We're going to have a pregame party. We're going to get some pregame tailgating going over on the pregame show. And then, of course, we'll be live for our postgame show as well. But, Kevin, we also have Justin Spears to talk to today on this fine program. We are now in overtime. Which, of course, we forgot to say, but we can go ahead and go into overtime now anyways.
Also, Jervis, yes, we are doing a St. Mary's post-game show. You know we are.
Yeah.
You know we are.
Yeah, we are sickos, and we will be doing a St. Mary's exhibition post-game show right after we do our Houston post-game football show, because that's what Arizona Wildcat fans want, and so we shall give it. But, Kevin, we do have Justin Spears. We do have a preview of Arizona versus Houston after we went very basketball heavy 2 days in a row. So without further ado, here is Arizona football expert Justin Spears talking about Arizona versus Houston.
We got Justin Spears here to preview the Houston matchup. You know it's not like a pregame Friday segment if Justin Spears is not on the show. I got to start here, Justin. Damon and I, we've been going back and forth literally since the game went final last Saturday. It's been Monday, Tuesday. We weren't here in the office on Wednesday, Thursday, and now today, Damon and I are still talking about, is the season over or do we still have faith, right? And I think I'm not saying that Damon is completely saying the season is over, but
Not a thing that I said.
no, but I'm saying like we're doing the doomsday versus, you get what I'm saying?
Correct. Yes.
Yeah. So I did kind of mischaracterize it, but we're doing the doomsday versus positivity thing, glass half full, glass half empty thing. Where do you stand after the BYU game? I'll say, are you glass half full or glass half empty with this Arizona squad?
I think it's half full of air, half full of water. I think it's always full. That's how I look at it. I'm doubling down on the positivity. No, I'm a glass half full guy, and I look at it like this: going into this season, conceivably, at the halfway point, Arizona was predicted to go 3-3 by a lot of people, right? People thought, okay, they might lose to Kansas State. They're certainly going to lose to Iowa State. And then, BYU, that's a really tough game as well. This was a team that was right there, one game away from being in the Big 12 championship just a year ago. So when you looked at that schedule, you looked at it and like, okay, 3-3 is probably realistic for Arizona, but these games are also at home. So Arizona has an opportunity to stack up a bunch of wins. They've already matched their season win total or their win total from last year. And now they have a whole half of their schedule to play. And that's all they got to do is get 2 games. 2 games. And if you look at it, like every single game the rest of the way is pretty winnable for Arizona, I would say. But then again, it's also losable as well, just because, all the other opponents that Arizona has to face, only one has a losing record, and that team is Colorado. And you got to go to Colorado and play against the Buffalo. So that's a road game. That's tough. So, yeah, it's a tough way to look at Arizona right now because, I've seen things happen in the past, right? Like, shoot, I remember Arizona having a 4-1 start in 2019, and then all of a sudden a 20-game losing streak started for the Wildcats. So I've seen this thing go south pretty quick, but you know what? This team just isn't that team from the past. This team has shown a lot of resilience this year. And yes, they lost a tough one against BYU. Could they have executed better? Yes. Could they have coached better? Absolutely. But you know what? Les Fafita, the father of Noah Fafita, put something out on Twitter the other day that I found very interesting. And he said the vibes and the energy of this team kind of reminds him of the energy and the vibes after Arizona lost to USC, when they lost a triple overtime game to a ranked team. And then guess what? They went on the road and played against a really good team. A team mascot is the Cougars, by the way. They played Washington State, and they smacked Washington State, went on a 7-game winning streak to end the season. Vibes were great, and that's how Jetfish ended up at Washington. So I'm not going to sit here and say like, oh, 7-game winning streak, look out. But like, I've seen Arizona in this territory before, and I could see something similar like that happening. Will they win 7 games? I don't know, but I'm glass half full. I think this team is really good.
I saw that tweet as well, Justin, and I think that you have to feel a lot of confidence in that because Les Fafita is hearing that obviously from his son Noah, who is the leader of this team emotionally and even on the football field as well. And I feel like that if that is the messaging that Noah is sending to his father, then that means that this locker room is still really well put together and really connected, and that gives me confidence. But to properly characterize what I've been saying on the show throughout the week is basically that I feel that this BYU loss drastically hurts the ceiling of an Arizona team. I think that this BYU loss probably precludes Arizona from having that really, really good 8-win, maybe even if all things break right, 9-win type of season. And then now it kind of changes the head math to being like Arizona's goal now is win 6 games, make a bowl game. Because as you said, Justin, the opponents that you have left are, while all winnable games, also all losable games. Because all of these teams are decent to good. So,
Yeah.
I mean, how do you feel about that evaluation from my end? Like, do you think that this BYU loss did kind of temper expectations on what this team could be? Or do you think that, it's business as usual and these guys are kind of using this loss to maybe even motivate them moving forward?
Well, I mean, I think, it gives them confidence that they can go up against these heavy hitters. And BYU, I mean, they went back to their bread and butter late in that game, and they just ran with Barrett Bachmeyer and ran with LJ Martin. But this is also a really good team and guys that are physical and they're mature, obviously. BYU is a really good football team. And so I think for Arizona, the fact that they were down by 2 touchdowns against this team and then came back and then put these guys in the corner, they were up by 10 points deep into the fourth quarter. This was Arizona's game to win. And, Arizona had 5 trips down to the red zone. They only scored 1 touchdown. You can't do that against a team like BYU. You also can't turn over the football as well when you go on the road. And if Arizona does that against Houston, they're going to find themselves in trouble. And Brent Brennan said that, Arizona, they have to figure out a way to win the turnover battle. And it's as simple as that. And some people look at that like, okay, coach speak, whatever. But if you look at it, in the 1-5 record that Arizona has under Brent Brennan on the road, they've lost the turnover battle in damn near every single one of those games. The only game that they did not lose the turnover battle, but yet they still lost, was the game against TCU. But the game against Utah, they won the turnover battle. So that Brent Brennan is onto something there. That is something that's very key and something that Arizona has to do on the road. And they've also average margin of defeat is 27.2 points under Brent Brennan on the road. So not only are it's like they beat Utah and then they're just getting smoked on the road.
And that includes the Oklahoma State game, no? Or that was at home?
No. Yeah, no. Yeah.
Yeah.
This is all road. Your road. So, yeah, 27.2 average margin of defeat. So between last year and this year, like I said, outside of the Utah game, they just have not put up a fight on the road. And after a tough loss against BYU, Arizona's focus is, let's come out and set the tone against Houston. Because if you go out and set the tone against a 5-1 Houston team on the road, and then you go into a bye week, man, that next stretch for Arizona, I mean, that's going to be a little bit different. I'm not going to say like this week is a must-win game for Arizona, but like if you think about the calendar, bye week coming up, tougher opponents on the horizon, you get that confidence. You had that confidence from playing a close game against BYU. Why not continue to build that confidence with a big win on the road against a Houston team that's pretty damn good? I mean, you beat them last year, but Houston did a great job in the transfer portal. And this would be really a game that Arizona can make a statement. And then they take one step closer to bowl eligibility.
If they're going to do that, do you believe that the defense is going to have to carry them through this matchup with Houston? And just how important is Danny Gonzalez's unit to a victory on Saturday?
Oh, he's huge, man. Especially, because Connor Wegman, their quarterback, transfer from Texas A&M, who was a former 5-star recruit back in the day. When Noah Fafita was a 3-star guy, nobody was really recruiting him. Connor Wegman was one of the top quarterbacks in that 2022 recruiting class. So, he's a good quarterback. And, one thing about Willie Fritz is he's getting Connor Wegman on the move. There have been a few games this year where they have really used Connor Wegman's athleticism. And as we know, Arizona's had some problems with those kind of quarterbacks. So Connor Wegman is going to be a handful. And also their big receivers as well. They have their starting tight end is one of their one of the top tight ends to go into the transfer portal. He's a transfer from Wisconsin. He is big. Like he is like the tight ends that you see at Iowa State. And then their receivers are also really big and physical. Amari Thomas, the transfer from UAB, is a guy that went to UAB and like finished in top 10 of every single receiving category at UAB and decided I need to go play at the power 4 level. And Houston picked him up, and he's been a really good wide receiver for Connor Wegman and that Houston offense. And there's some other guys in there too. I mean, they're just big and physical. And so this offense is going to test Arizona's defense. And so I think that, if Dalton Johnson and Genesis Smith, the two linebacker safeties that Danny Gonzalez was talking about, the guys that are just so interchangeable and you have no idea who's going to be more of like a linebacker role. Danny Gonzalez compared it to Brian Urlacher when he was at New Mexico. And if those guys can make plays and make tackles in space and not allow a lot of yak and get those wide receivers going, then I think Arizona is going to be just fine. But you got to get off the field on third down as well. You got to get Connor Wegman and that team off the field. And then on the other side of it, offensively, I think this has to be a game where the rushing attack steps up. I know, Houston, they've got a really good defensive tackle in Carlos Allen right there in the middle. He's a handful, but the Texas two-step has to get going. The Kedrick Risano and Ismail Mahdi. You got Mr. Houston and you got Mr. Dallas. The Texas two-step really has to step up for Arizona. And if you can stay on schedule and stay ahead of the sticks, get into those third and short situations so you can use the power of a guy like a Kedrick Risano, or you can use some play action, some RPO and Noah Fafita, get the ball out quick to guys like Chris Hunter, if he's able to go. I know he's listed as probable, but or Chris Hudson or whatever. Receivers are getting better. Even Sam Olsen as well. I just feel like the running backs really are going to have to step up, because especially if you look at it, Arizona on the road, they have not really outgained the opponent in rushing yards. That has been a problem for Arizona going back to last year. And now that Kedrick Risano is healthy, he just broke out for a 36-yard touchdown last week, looked really good. If Kedrick Risano and Ismail Mahdi, if those guys can really get going, I think Arizona's offense will be just fine against Houston.
You mentioned the red zone struggles, Justin. 1 for 5 in converting red zone opportunities to touchdowns in the last matchup versus BYU. 20%, not going to cut it. And conversely, there's a school in this conference in Cincinnati who I believe every time they've reached the red zone this year, I believe they've punched it in for a touchdown, remarkably, which is pretty insane. But I know that was like a big deal this week with the media, with Seth Dagey talking to him about the red zone struggles. How does Arizona fix this issue that they have?
Yeah, I think, he's working on it with Noah. Sometimes, Noah would make the wrong decision. Some people are like, oh, well, what are you doing here? And it's like, well, it's RPO. It's Noah's decision to pull the football or not. So I think that, Noah, as he continues to make reads and kind of trust himself down there in the red zone, then I feel like you're going to see a much more polished version of Noah Fafita. And I think the fact that, the running backs are now healthier, I think those guys being healthier, it's going to completely change really the complexion of Arizona's offense in the red zone, because, I don't know if you guys have noticed this, but Tristan Bounds at right tackle, Alexander Deuce, in my opinion, I think those guys are much better run blockers than they are pass blockers. And so if you can get those guys downhill in the red zone, and they've got the size for it, then I think that's going to help fix Arizona's red zone issues. So yeah, that's one thing I'm going to be paying attention to, because last year they didn't really get to the red zone.
No.
Now they're getting to the red zone, but they got to turn those trips into touchdowns, or else it's just kind of empty calories.
I'll make another comparison to a Jed Fish era team. I know that team went 1-11, and you don't really want to compare it to that team too much, but the team before Arizona really started turning things around, they were really moving the football a lot with Will Plummer at quarterback and getting into the red zone, but just not converting these opportunities. I don't want to say it's the same thing. I think that team was supremely untalented compared to this team, and that was probably more so the issue. But I don't know. Maybe this can be like a springboard of sorts for Arizona once they start converting those red zone opportunities to touchdowns. Maybe they're just unbelievable and they reel off this 2023 style 7 wins in a row that Justin Spears is talking about. But yeah, it's going to be a tough one against a pretty good Houston Cougars team.
Yeah, this Houston team, like I said, they're really good defensively. This is kind of the heart and soul of their team. Like I mentioned, Connor Wegman. I mentioned the receivers that they have. Dean Connors, who's a grown-ass man at running back for the Cougars. Their defense, especially their secondary. Latrell McCutcheon, senior, which, by the way, I love that he makes sure that he has senior on the back of his jersey. Apparently, his nickname is Glizzy, too. You got to look at his roster. I think his nickname is Glizzy. I was like, Okay, that's an interesting nickname, sir. But yeah, they have really good defensive backs. And Latrell McCutcheon, funny enough, actually started his career at Oklahoma where Chip Viney was. Chip Viney was a recruiting analyst, recruited him to Oklahoma or had a hand in recruiting him. And then he ended up going to USC to play for former Arizona cornerbacks coach Dante Williams. So there's 6 degrees of separation with Arizona and everybody else in the college football world. But Houston's defense is really good, and those defensive backs are really good. So I think the more that they can run and not go at those defensive backs, I think the better it'll be for Arizona in that offense.
Before we do get you out of here, Justin, we've previewed the matchup a lot, but what is your prediction for this Saturday? Does Arizona get back on track, or does a potential spiral begin in Houston?
Vegas knows something, man. Arizona was an underdog, and now they're the favorite. I ran the simulation in college football 26, and the Wildcats dominated. They won 34-17. So I feel like it's like right there in front of me. And one thing I've learned about making picks is like just don't overthink it, man. You're overthinking it. So I'm not going to overthink this. I think that this is a different Arizona team. And, Iowa State's a really good team, but Houston, I feel like, is a more beatable opponent. So I'm going to go with Arizona to win this game. I've got the Wildcats winning 24-20.
Sounds like an absolute banger of a football matchup there between Arizona and Houston. And as we mentioned, it's going to be one that is extremely pivotal, I think, in terms of how you feel about the psyche of this season in general for year 2 of Brent Brennan. If Arizona loses, I hate to be that guy, but it kind of feels like the sky is falling a little bit. And I know you can make it better with a W the week after, or I guess 2 weeks because of the bye. But it's I just feel like you can't really lose this one with how loud the loss was on Saturday, and so you have to turn things around going forward and kind of inject some new lifeblood into this program. We appreciate you, Justin, for injecting lifeblood into this podcast consistently, at least once a week, every week. You are our guy for a reason. Of course, you can follow Justin Spears at Justin E Sports on Twitter. You can follow his great written work over at Tucson.com for the Arizona Daily Star. Follow his radio show he does with Ali Farhang, Spears and Ali, every weekday morning, 7 to 9 a.m. on ESPN Tucson. Justin, we appreciate you so much, my guy, and safe travels out there to H-Town.
Yes, sir. Appreciate you guys.
That, of course, was Justin Spears. And honestly, Kevin, let me do this back because I don't want to make a third hat change in one podcast here. But yes, Nick Arenas, Will Plummer is a Wildcat legend in my eyes forever for what that guy sacrificed on the football field. Wasn't all that great of a quarterback, but Kevin, that dude would have like a dislocated shoulder, a bloody nose, a concussion, and he'd still be trying to fight to get back in the football game, despite only being a 1-win team. So
you don't get a name like Plummer without being blue collar.
Yeah, that's a Wildcat legend in my eyes for life. But great interview with our guy Justin Spears, kind of previewing this Arizona-Houston matchup. He's got Arizona getting the W. I believe 24-20 is what he said in terms of Arizona beating Houston in this one. And it would be a momentous win for this program, for Brent Brennan, for Noah Fafita, for Seth Dagey, Danny Gonzalez, and everybody down the totem pole there, Kevin, because Houston's very good, man. Houston's very good. They've kind of been the surprise of the conference, even though they were somewhat like the darling surprise pick. And Willie Fritz is a ball coach, as we've come to know on this podcast. But Arizona can win this football game tomorrow. And I don't know that they necessarily will. That's not necessarily my prediction, as I'm sure that you guys might be shocked to find out, and you will find out on tomorrow's pregame show at 8:30.
Who knows? Maybe after a shot of Three Amigos, Damon changes his tune.
It's very true. One shot does impair me to the ultimate degree. So it might just change who I am as a person after that one shot. But Kevin, we do, of course, have this very great game to be talking about tomorrow, as well as Arizona basketball playing in their first real matchup of the season, real in quotation marks. But you know that me and Kevin are going to be right there with you every step of the way, shoulder to shoulder, in the middle of this army we call the Arizona Wildcats fandom. Kevin, yes, blood brothers and sisters all here in the chat. We appreciate everybody who watch this fine program, who tuned in all day long. You guys mean the world to us, truly. Like this video, subscribe to the channel, and help us out, help us reach even more people that we could hopefully get into this program and just kind of have even more fun with just a bigger audience over here. So, yeah, that's going to do it for us today on the AZ Wildcats pod. Kevin, anything else before we get out of here?
Shout out to our friend Raptor in the chat who is celebrating a new football uniform and basketball uniform to ring in the Arizona seasons. That is the type of representation I love to see. Shout out to everybody else in the chat for tapping in with us today. It's a fired up Friday. Hopefully it's a victory Monday when we come to you guys with our next live show on Monday. We have 2 post-game shows tomorrow. Like Damon said, a pregame show, a shot going down, maybe another shot. What? Another shot. What? Who knows? Very excited. Shot. Seth Daggy. Shot. Yeah.
Should we do
DJ Tommy?
I was gonna say, like, how many supporters club subscribers do we need to do another shot? Because we will do one. But if the people show out, like if we can get 3 supporters club members, I'll do another shot. If we get 3 more, I'll do a 3rd shot.
What?
I mean, like it's up to you guys. What me and Kevin end up doing on Saturday. We can in fact be bought. That is a fact.
True.
We very much can be bought. We're fickle humans. Throw money at us and
please
watch us. You say jump, I say how high. So, we'll get in on that. We'll have a lot of fun. Appreciate everybody for being here all week long, partying with us, having a good time. And of course, hopefully tomorrow we're back talking Arizona Wildcats, getting 2 dubs tomorrow night. Tomorrow during the day, and then of course tomorrow afternoon. But we will be live after both of them for 2 post-game shows and a pregame 30 minutes prior to kickoff. Make sure that you guys are right there along with us. I am Damon Dog. That's DAWG, and he's at Kevo Posts. We are at PHNX_Wildcats on all socials, except for on TikTok, where we're at AZ Wildcats Pod. We'll see you tomorrow on the AZ Wildcats Pod. Until next time, peace out. Bear down.
And go Cats. Shot.
We all silly like the mayor.